Hey everybody, it's Tony from Car Stars, and we're here in the garage. Charles is over there doing all the techno babble stuff, and we're putting together this LS1 block. So far we've kind of cleaned it up a little bit. Took the caps off. We're just getting ready to set the bearings in, and then we're gonna check the bearing clearance, the tightness of the crank on these bearings. So got our plastic gauge over there. We're getting ready to go. We're going to put this in here. Charles is kind of leading the charge on this. So since I've never done this myself, he is basically walking me through it. And it's about as far as we've gotten so far. And I'm super stoked to get this thing back together and getting it buttoned up, because I hate to have it sitting out here all corroding. Right. As you can see, it's rainy and crappy out there, and it's just, in Tennessee, it's humid all the time, moist and humid. So I think, yeah, we got to get this thing back together and buttoned up. So we're waiting on parts for this. So while we're waiting on parts, we're just kind of messing with this and getting it back together. So any words, any thoughts?
Read your bearings. There is an upper and lower bearing. You can you see it in that?
I'm trying to get the phone to actually focus.
Oh, okay. Lower, and then the upper bearings. And an easy way to spot too is these here, where my finger's at, is going to be an oil passageway to lubricate the bearings. They need to go through a hole, obviously, to actually get to the surface, and you can see how it's grooved out, to actually lubricate the crank journals. So just be mindful of that. This block has been machined. Check with your machiner. If he balanced everything together, it's going to be numbered. And something you can kind of see what I'm talking about is when you go, it's going to be numbered. Not only do you know this cap goes to this rod, but this is the number 2 piston. And then also, these are hyper-eutectic. You're going to have 2 areas to know, obviously front, and then the notch is going to be front, which means it needs to face to the front of the motor. There is a certain way these go in. If you do them incorrectly, you could have issues. Let me rephrase it. You will have issues. So take your time, do research, make sure you're checking everything and reading correctly.
Cool. So yeah, we're going to start laying these in, and then we're going to get the plastic gauge on, and I might do a little more filming at that point. So we'll catch you then. All right, we're starting to install the caps and setting our plastic gauge in place, but this plastic gauge is it's really stiff, it's really light, and it's somewhat hard to work with, especially when you got to drop a piece of plastic gauge down in there to measure that clearance. Like, I don't even know. So it's going to be fun. We'll see how this turns out. We're trying to get it all back together and get the caps back on, get the plastic gauge in place, and then we're going to torque everything down and then take everything apart again and see what the gauge reads. This front cap here was really super tight, so we'll see how that reads. So, all right, catch you up in a second. All right, so we got it all, caps all on, plastic gauge in place, getting ready to torque these bad boys down. Make sure we're going to get the right order to torque all this stuff down, because it's very important that you tighten these in the correct order. Once that's done, we'll undo everything and check out the plastic gauge.
I am assembling an LS1.
Oh yes. All right, here we are. We've tightened all the caps down and untightened them, and here is the results. The plastic gauge squished out, except for the main cap back here. Oh, I do see it. It's there. It was just dark. But anyway, now we got to take our little piece of paper and kind of measure it against how thick this squished out to, and then we can figure out what our clearances are. So that's where we're at right now, and it is a bit of a pain to put the caps on, tighten everything down, take it all apart, pull it off, but it's necessary. So you got to know how tight this thing is, or loose, and go from there.